Thank you so much for joining us for a moment of reflection of how much our residents and communities have fought for over generations and terms, legislative terms and years, and how much we still have to do. I'm so grateful to so many community members for joining us here today. I'm going to get in trouble, but a few of the folks I especially want to thank who you will hear from later, some of whom you will hear from later. City Councilor Julia Mejia, who is the lead sponsor of the legislation that in the last term that led to this, Ron Bell, Tony Brewer, Richard Clater, James Dancy, Bishop Dickerson, Tito Jackson, Lee Nave, James Mackey, Matt Parker, Horace Small, who couldn't be here today, Corey Thompson, and many, many more are just some of the core of community that have pushed for and fought for the beginning of where we stand today. We are here in a building that stands as a physical reminder and honor of the legacy of the late Bruce Bowling, the City of Boston's first Black City Council president, someone who loved his community, loved the City of Boston, and fought to make sure that from equity in hiring to affordable housing, people would be the center of our vision for Boston. Today we're also here because of decades of work following and standing on the shoulders of President Bowling. More than 30 years after he was elected to that seat, City Councilor Tito Jackson filed legislation to create this commission. In 2014, Councilor Jackson introduced that ordinance. It was timely, it was necessary, it was passed by the City Council, but it didn't happen just yet. But community members and activists didn't give up and kept fighting, kept advocating, kept pushing. City Councilor Julia Mejia took up this charge. She fought and stewarded this legislation through the City Council yet again, and Mayor Kim Janey, trailblazer, barrier breaker, Mayor Kim Janey, signed it into law. Because of Councilor Jackson, because of my sisters in service, Councilor Mejia, Mayor Janey, because of Bruce Bowling and all who stand in his legacy, because of all these community advocates and the many more represented by their presence here today, we're taking an important step forward in Boston in advancing racial equity. I'm proud and excited to introduce our Executive Director of the Office of Black Male Advancement, Frank Farrow. Frank will serve in the Cabinet of Equity and Inclusion alongside Chief Maria Angeli Solis Cervera, who is also here. This cabinet and Frank's leadership will steward and house the Commission on Black Men and Boys. Today we're also here to announce that the applications for these 21 seats created under Councilor Mejia and Councilor Jackson's leadership, those applications will open and be open through February. You can apply at boston.gov/BMB. Since the introduction of this legislation, we've continued to see reminders of the disproportionate impact of so many of our policies and gaps on Black men and boys. Across the country, police brutality, health outcomes deepened by COVID, education and economic opportunity gaps. And in Boston, we are going to pick up the mantle under Frank's leadership and with the service of our commissioners and with the partnership of City Council and all in city government to prioritize this commission's work uplifting Black men and boys. And so I'm proud to hand it over to Director Frank Farrow.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, and thank you everyone for joining us in Roxbury on this third day of Black History Month. Right now. I'm honored and excited to lead the Office for Black Male Advancement and continue to uplift Black men and boys under the Mayor Wu administration. As we are gathered in historic Nubian Square in the Bruce Bowling Building, named in honor of our first Black City Council president and a leader in the fight to narrow Boston's racial and economic gaps. It is important that we take time to acknowledge the foundation laid by the giants in our community, and that we also honor the late Senator Bill Owens, who was the first Black state senator and a champion for equal rights. I would like to thank former Councilor Tito Jackson for introducing and championing the ordinance to create a commission on Black men and boys in 2014, and for his steadfast commitment to ensuring that Black men and boys had the necessary supports to realize their full potential. I want to especially thank the many community advocates and organizers for their persistence and commitment to seeing this ordinance pass the finish line. Thank you, brothers. And I would like to also thank Councilor Julia Mejia for reintroducing this ordinance. And ensuring that Black men are not only seen but heard. I would like to thank former Mayor Kim Janey, a daughter of Roxbury, for signing the ordinance and making it real. As a Boston native, I understand the persistent social and economic inequities facing Black people. I grew up in Academy homes in Roxbury. As a youth, I utilized every resource and opportunity the city of Boston had to offer. I started my education at the Tobin Elementary School in Mission Hill.
All right now. Yep.
Sorry. Played basketball at Marcella Park, Malcolm X Park. Participated in a program at the Shelburne Community Center in the YMCA on Huntington Ave. At 14, my first job was a camp counselor working at English High School at the summer camp. I graduated from Cathedral High School, not too far from here. When I grew older, those same resources that started to dwindle and those opportunities became out of reach. The time is now to improve the outcomes and reduce systemic barriers to the advancement for Black men and boys living in the city of Boston. We must empower Black men and boys and ensure they have equitable access to opportunities through the concentration of policy, programs, resources, as well as local and national partnerships to make sure that we are fulfilling the commitment from Mayor Michelle Wu, the city councilors, and the brothers that put the hard work in to make sure that this is something that we can live and fight and carry on. As a Black man raising 2 Black boys in this city, I want my sons Christian and Kingston to have every opportunity and every resource available to them, so the narrative is no longer about Black men and boys needing to be resilient or striving to be better, but of them thriving and realizing their full potential and including the conversations of Boston's prosperity. I look forward to the opportunity of leading the charge for Black male advancement in working alongside the Black Men and Boys Commission to ensure that the city's policies, programs, and resources align with the mayor's bold vision for a more equitable Boston. I'll end with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. Boston, we have an opportunity to ensure that Black men and boys in this city realize their full potential and are able to live in a greater Boston and pass on a legacy of success, prosperity, and uplifting and empowering Black men and boys in our community. Thank you.
Next up, City Councilor Julia Mejia.
Thank you. I am incredibly proud to have had the opportunity to work with all of these fabulous Black men to make this happen. I'm going to go off script really quick, but don't worry, I'll behave. I just wanted to quickly, before I dive into my remarks, just acknowledge that in January of 2020, at Chuck Turner's memorial, I looked into Justin Brown's eyes, and I said, we're going to make this commission come alive. I didn't know how, especially in the time of COVID, how we were going to make that happen, but Ron Bell reached out and said, it is time. And let me just tell you that the sense of urgency that these Black men held me to the fire, and I said, here we go. And so I just want to say thank you for your commitment. And for allowing me, more importantly, to work alongside you to make this happen. So I'll just be really quick. You know, we are incredibly proud. We are especially proud that we have done so to improve upon the original ordinance to reflect a more holistic understanding of the issues that our Black men and boys here in the city of Boston face. Some of the contributions that we were able to bring to light more significantly was we wanted to make sure that this commission is intersectionally understanding how sexual orientation, gender identity with Black men here in the city of Boston. We also wanted to make sure that we're uplifting the issues of mental health and wellness, because this isn't just a commission for some Black men and boys. This is a commission for all Black men and boys, and all means all. We are currently working on a nomination process for the council to nominate several members to join the Black Men and Boys Commission. We are hopeful that the application process for the commissioners will bring in a number of applicants with a variety of worldviews and lived experiences, united with a sense of urgency to uplift the voices of Black men and boys. In addition, we're currently working to ensure that the executive director position is formally established within the ordinance. We filed an amendment in the ordinance yesterday, page 2, here we go. And we were looking forward to bringing the vote, to passage soon. This is important because we need to make sure that our actions are in alignment with our words. Otherwise, ordinances become just words on paper and nothing more. This is an opportunity for transparency. And as the chair of government accountability, transparency, and accessibility, it is our job to make sure that our laws are being properly implemented and enforced. And when possible, making corrections that best reflect the needs and practices of commissions like this. So we look forward to not only supporting the new executive director on his journey, but working alongside the community to ensure that you are engaging and informing the conversation every step of the way. So congratulations to Tito Jackson, because this is your moment. None of us would be here right now had you not had the courage in 2014 to bring this to light. So this, to you, Tito Jackson, you now have the floor, I believe.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Let's give it up one more time for our sister. Councilor Julia Mejia, who made it happen, who is a woman of her word. And I also want to acknowledge a couple of other women before we go forward, because we do this together. So, a lot of folks would like to pit us against each other and say, why y'all only doing this for black men? Because black men are a critical part of the black family. That's right. And they're a critical part of the black community. And if we don't do it for ourselves, then it won't get done. We also want to acknowledge a great leader, a great sister, but also I want to acknowledge that Mayor Wu was there when this vote was first taken. And she was on record as supporting this in 2014. She's not brand new to this, ladies and gentlemen. We also need to acknowledge and also hold up in prayer Mayor Kim Janey, who just lost her brother. But she is the mayor who signed this into law. Because understand, in 2014, ladies and gentlemen, we passed this unanimously in the Boston City Council. A council that was a little bit different than it is now. Okay. But it passed unanimously, but it was rejected by the leadership at that time. I am happy to stand in this Black History Month, making history with a brother who deserves to be in this role, who's eminently qualified to be in this role, Brother Frank Farrow. And we all stand on the shoulders of those folks who came before us. We walk in the footsteps of Martin Luther King, who literally walked in this city. We walk in the footsteps of Marcus Garvey, who literally walked in this city. We walk in the footsteps of Malcolm X, who literally walked in this city. We walk in the footsteps of my father, Herb Akuzulu Jackson, who walked in this city. We walk in the footsteps of Chuck Turner today, who fought and did this work. And we stand in the center of the city of Boston, in the Bruce Bowling Building. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the direction of Roxbury, the direction of black men, will be the direction that the city of Boston goes. We must lead and not follow on these issues. And I would also submit to you that's a good thing that we call this office an office of black male advancement. Come on. Because a while ago, there was an office started called the Office of Women's Advancement. And that office was started, created, and funded. Can a brother get an amen? Amen. And funded, and what happened? Women advanced. Not long ago, there was an office called the Office of Immigrant Advancement that was created and funded, and what ended up happening? Immigrants advanced. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the creation of the Office of Black Male Advancement. And what we expect is for it to be funded and for black men to advance in the city of Boston. I want to give a shout out to one other very important person that's here today, and that's Superintendent Brenda Castillas. They may write you down in history with their bitter, twisted lies. They may trod you in the very dirt. But sister, still like dust, you will rise. And how well you do is how well 100% of the future of the city of Boston does. We support you. We support the work that you do every day. We don't read the comment section. And we know that we are headed in the right direction in the city of Boston. And I would just submit to you, last but not least, why does this matter? And by the way, why does it matter not only to black folks, why does it matter to white folks in the city of Boston? Well, it matters because we spend $55,000 a year to incarcerate people in Suffolk County, while we spend $28,000 to educate them, ladies and gentlemen. It matters because white families have a median net worth of $247,500, while black families are worth $8. It matters because as we stand in Roxbury today, in Back Bay, there's a 33-year difference in life expectancy. They live to 91.9, while we live to 58.9, lower than the life expectancy of Cambodia and Iraq. It matters not only to us, but it matters to you. Because yes, the city of Boston is a great city, but the greatest days of the city of Boston are contingent upon what we do for the black men who are in the city of Boston. When I was in office, I went to go get a haircut, which I need one today. And I met a young man, and his name was Emmanuel. I met him at Lawson's. And we were giving him a hard time because it was his first day that he wasn't sitting in the upper seat. You know, brothers? You know, the little upper seat? And so that young man and his aunt asked for a ride after. And we were walking to my car. And it was one of those days, you know, it was the middle of the week. I think it was Thursday. And we were walking. And he stopped on the way to the car, and I'm like, bro, I got a bunch of places to go, I got meetings to go to, or whatever. And he said something that changed my life and makes me think about today and how important it is. He said, Mr. Jackson, just in Obama years, you look like the president. And I said, Emmanuel, I look like I ate the president. What are you talking about? I drove him home, got to where I needed to go to, and then at the end of the day, I pulled up in the driveway. It made me think, what a great day that we live in. When on a weekday, when a little Puerto Rican boy sees a black man in a suit, instead of seeing a whole bunch of other things, he sees the president. And what's significant about that is not that he saw me as president, but that he could see himself as president. And that's why we do this work. And that's why we are proud to stand here today. And that's why we are very also happy to support our mayor. And we will not, as black men, let people try to intimidate you, call you out of your name, or stop the progress that you are making in the city of Boston. Understand, and this is a message for those who would attempt to do that. She's ours. You can't have her. Hands off. And all the brothers have her back. Thank you.
I don't know how I'm expected to follow that, but I will do my best. And what I will say is that I'm honored to be here at this moment in my neighborhood, Roxbury, which I call God's country, and have an opportunity to not only commemorate this moment around this commission, but to congratulate my brother Frank Farrow for being in this position. Because, to be honest, Frank epitomizes everything that this commission is about. Frank is a black man born and raised in this city who was a product of his institutions, and for so far along, our city never celebrated black men from this city who are products of its institutions. So at a time when we're talking about the black men that we stand on the shoulders upon, I think it's important to talk about the black men who never got a chance to reach their full potential. Because I know for these brothers behind me, I'm carrying the brothers who never made it to 40, who never made it to 18. I'm thinking about Sean Adams, who was killed right around the corner. It's going to be 18 years on February 14th that he was stabbed to death at 14. He didn't get a chance to be a black man. And for so many of us, that was our constant fear. So you can't progress when you're just trying to survive and thrive. You're trying to make it to 16. I was 15 living on St. James praying to make it to 16. That's the reality of being a black man born and raised in the city of Boston. Coming from Humboldt, coming from Mission, coming from Franklin Field, coming from these neighborhoods that have continuously dealt with death, loss, and intentional divestment. I'm going to use divestment because that's exactly what it is. So today it's about being intentional. And being somebody who studied policy a little bit, I know that intentionality in policy is how you get to the results that you need. So we're going to explicitly say black men and boys. Because in order to actually get to the means that we desire, we have to intentionally design policies around the advancement of black men and boys. So that's putting them at the forefront of the policy, not trying to get to us by happenstance. Trying to create generic policies that might get to us on the back end. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of crumbs. Come on. And at the end of the day, it's about being forceful. It's about being proud of where we come from. It's about celebrating all black men. Not those who are part of our little cliques. Not just those who go to our churches, not just those who go to our clubs. All black men, because I wasn't a part of any clubs. When I was growing up, nobody would have thought that this guy would be a doctor one day. My parents was teenage parents, guys. And I'm not saying that to hype myself up. I'm saying to say that there were brothers who were smarter than me who didn't get the opportunity. And because they didn't fit the bill, they weren't selected to go into those programs. They weren't selected to be mentored because their parents were teenagers or they were raised by their grandma or they came from Lucerne Street. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we're trying to address, and I just want to close by saying I had to give a shout out to Ms. Harris. Come on now. Because Ms. Harris, as we're talking about the importance of the black family, Ms. Harris was the mother and grandmother for us all. That's right. And she was one of the individuals that made me proud to say I'm from Roxbury. She made me one of the people to carry it as a badge of honor, not as a way in which it was a black mark that the media would try to portray us as. To say that, no, great things come from Roxbury, you could be great. So she always kept me on my toes to do so. So it's our duty to carry that torch. So Ms. Harris, I honor you, I appreciate you. To all the sisters, we appreciate you. And just to echo Tito's point, this adversarial nature that we have, black men, black women, we got to address that too, but that's a conversation for another day. Madam Mayor Wu, I appreciate you so much for having courage to be explicit. And intentionality is major in our book, and I really appreciate you for that. So brothers, congratulations. Frank Farrow, congratulations, my brother. And thank you.
I'm William Dickinson. I'm the senior pastor at Greater Love Tabernacle in Dorchester. And I, too, am a product of a village that Ms. Harris is a part of to help raise me to this point today. And so it takes men and women to work together. So let's thank God for our mothers that supported our efforts. Right here in the 60s in Orchard Park, my mother was a part of helping the community to stay strong and to help the young people to stay focused on doing positive things. And I'm elated to be here in the building that's named after Bruce Boland, who's a great leader in our city, and thank God for the legacy he's left behind. I was reared in my youth mostly in Dorchester, and I'm a product of the Boston Public Schools and a former school teacher in the Boston Public Schools as well. And early, but you know, somebody say, why do we need a black male commission? And I know that some people say it, and black and white, you know. I'm thinking about an incident or an occurrence where someone was shot and killed, and I laid them to rest. And the young man said to me, yo, Rev, man, I was feeling that message, man. When I go, I want you to do my funeral. At the time, he was probably in his early 20s. And I was in my mid-50s at the time. And I'm saying, like, what do you just say? He said, I want you to do my funeral. I said, man, come on, we got to talk, man. Why would you think you're not going to live to see your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on? He said, yo, man, if I live to be 30, man, I'll be OG. Yes, yes. And so I never hear white boys talk like that to me. And it's very deliberate. Some of the systems that are in place, it's not that they're broken, they're deliberate to keep us out. Yes, yes. I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Wu and former Mayor Kim Janey, the Boston City Councilor, Councilor Mejia in particular, former Councilor Tito Jackson, Ron Bell, and other brothers that are really serious about us not being ignored any longer. We're not looking for a handout. We're just saying stop ignoring our pain. Stop ignoring the negative statistics that are against us, such as high homicide rates, high rates of incarceration. Stop ignoring black men's health disparities. Stop ignoring our mental health and our trauma. I want to thank God that Frank Farrow will be the director at the helm of the Black Males Commission, the advancement of black males, however you all want to call it. You know, because it's sad in this city, every time we want to deal with black males, it's morphed into something else. I'm sick and tired of that foolishness. Let's deal with the hard-nosed guys that don't come to the table because they feel they can't come to the table. Let's deal with the ones who've been marginalized and kicked to the curb. It's easy to deal with those who have education, dotted I's and crossed T's, and they've had a little, sociological hiccup along the way. But let's deal with the ones that others turn their back to, because the problems in the black community are not just black community problems, they are American problems, and we have to deal with them because we're not going anywhere.
Let the church say amen. You know, it's interesting. Happy Black History 365. And the reason why I say 365, because it's a way of life. We don't just celebrate one day. We don't celebrate just 1 month. It's a way of our life. It's who we are as black people. Can I get an amen? Mayor Wu, city councilors, elected officials, all the clergy, my good friend, mentor, Elfrida Harris, we honor you. We honor the brothers that come before us, Bruce Boland, those who may be with us, those who've lost, Mel King, Hubie Jones. We honor Jeep Jones, Reverend Michael Haynes, the list goes on. So we stand on their shoulders. Now, I was talking to City Councilor At-Large Julia Mejia, and I said it's really hard to follow a bishop, a city councilor who's your cousin, a mayor that's awesome, a city councilor at large that's incredible, that's fierce, determined to help black people, Latinos, and everybody, people of conscience. So I stand here as the son of Mission Hill, a product, a graduate of Boston Latin School, first school in America. Attended the first black college in America, Cheyney State University. And I would be remiss, I am saddened to see in 2022 that HBCUs are being threatened with bombs. As a black man growing up in Boston, serving in every sector, nonprofit, for-profit, corporate, government, there's one word that stands out: disparity compared to our counterparts. So I thank you, Mayor Wu, for turning that disparity and opening the office of Black Male Advancement. Let's give her a hand. I thank you for hiring my brother, Frank Farrow, a good man, a good brother. I thank you, Brianna, for having the decency and respect for asking us, who was pounding the pavement, organizing 800 brothers, hearings, testifying, trainings by black men. Somebody ought to say amen. Black men standing shoulders to shoulders, standing up for what's right. I know there's been a lot mentioned about Dr. King, so I'll end with this quote. He said, "The time is always right to do what's right." You can start right now by doing a small part to treat people with dignity, courtesy, and respect. And as the philosopher said, a civil rights entertainer, the good James Brown, say it loud: I'm black and I'm proud.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Brewer, a proud resident and a proud black man. I am a black man with a black mind, and I come from a black-on-black family. I want to ask this young brother right here to come here. Come here, man.
Nice. Let's go, Jay. Nice. Let's go, Jay.
And I'll ask this other young brother to come right here. When I get out of my bed in the morning, I have to ask myself, am I helping somebody? Am I helping someone do better, get a resource? Now, he's a generation before this generation. I am their generation, older. It's very imperative that we get up in the morning and have a purpose to do something for someone else besides ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
So I don't go to the church that I go to and walk up to the altar and ask God, what do I need to do? Yeah, I already know. I grew up in this neighborhood. I was unmanageable. I had a lot of people in this room right here that believed in me and pushed me.
That's right.
And pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. One of them was Miss Harris.
Yeah, that's right.
And I didn't mean push you angrily, but I meant push you that I know you can do better.
That too sometimes.
Yeah, you got that right, Bishop. But I am so grateful and honored that in 2014, when we took up this Black Male Commission and we got it passed in 2015, and then somebody tried to water it down, as the bishop was talking about earlier. So we canceled it. Said we're gonna fall back and we're gonna fight again. But then we had a champion. We had a champion among sisters who grew up in this neighborhood, Kim Janey. But then we had another champion, my friend, in our honor, Michelle Wu, who said, oh no, we gonna sign this into law, we gonna make this happen.
Right.
Thank you, and God bless you. And may he continue to bless you and your family. And to all those of you who are wondering why I brought these two brothers up here, I want you to look at them, and I want you to look at the age difference. Now, he got his mask up, but don't worry, he ain't gonna bother you. You know? But I want you to look at the difference. What is our responsibility? What are we responsible for? Raising someone up.
That's right. That's right.
I can't lift nobody up until I've lifted myself up. But when I got the opportunity to understand oneself and am able to give it to these young brothers, Frank Farrow, I give it to him. I give it to all the brothers that are in the organization, and I mean it.
Yes.
Because it's important, because I know what this is like out here.
That's right.
And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. You in the heart of the matter. You're in Roxbury, Massachusetts, the land of the brave and the home of the free. You know what I'm saying? And I love my city, and I love you too, Ms. Harris, to death. Thank you. And I know you. So, without further ado, I just wanted to just take both of these brothers and just repeat after me. Say it loud!
Say it loud!
I'm black and I'm proud!
I'm black and I'm proud! Come on.
Good day, everyone. I'm Matt Parker. I am Executive Director. I'm Executive Director of the Union of Minority Neighborhoods. This is a very proud day, but this is just the first day of a lot of hard work that is ahead of us.
That's right.
Because we're not done yet. We've heard several times we stand on the shoulder of giants, and I say that to my elders, to my mentors, and to our peers. I'm very proud of Frank. That's a peer of mine. We grew up in the community together. We had a lot of interesting times playing youth sports, recreational, and then just on our city's basketball courts and other sports. But I also want to take time to say thank you to not just the peer groups, but to Mayor Wu, who's been an ally, a friend, a champion of our work, to Julia for being our community champion, to Mayor Janey, who made this possible, and being brave. We made mention of our heroes and our significant people who did so much for us. So I want to lift up Mel King.
Yeah.
Who gave me a moment, many moments over the years, and got to have brunch at his table on the weekends. And anybody who's been to Mel's house know there are two things you do. You will talk, and you will eat. And I don't miss many meals. I also want to lift up another mentor, Chuck Turner. God rest. Who his office was right around the corner and literally told us day after day, walk in, let's talk about it. And what are you going to do after we talk? And I'm not going to be without much cause, without saying that there's some men here right now who push the envelope, who we may not always travel along the same path, but we all had the same goal. We've worked hard, we've met, we've agreed, we've disagreed. Even up until this moment, like we were even fussing and making light of these large group text messages. That's inside, that's not for everybody, but we know what it is. But in this moment, I just want to say that this is very important, and it takes a community, and we're doing this with intent to lift ourselves up, to lift our little brothers and big brothers up, but also to lift up our community and our families. It starts with all of us. So we're doing this without terms of patriarchy and toxic masculinity. We do this with intent of building bridges and doing this to balance and not to just have power over, but power with. And that is super important. So I'll leave with what I started with. This is the first of many days, and there's a lot of work ahead of us. Thank everyone for their support. Thank everyone for the love and encouragement. And we will see you with the next milestone. And who knows what that will be, but as long as we're advancing, everyone advances.
That's right.
I also want to thank and recognize our host, District 7 City Councilor, who has had big shoes to fill, but not only stepped right in, but started running with that torch with community right alongside her, Tanya Fernandez-Anderson.
Peace and love, y'all. My name is Tanya Fernandez-Anderson, and most of you know my story, but first I want to start with recognizing all of my, I gotta talk this way, sorry. All of these, my beautiful Black brothers. For those of you who I haven't met, I look forward to working with you. And for those of you who I've spoken with, I know where your heart is, and I hope to align my heart with yours. My sister, Julia Mejia, I'm blown away, and you've coming up to stuff. I appreciate you. You're coming up to stuff, sis, and your chakra is high. I look forward to working and doing more with you. I want to tell you just a quick story, just to let you know, just to sort of share with you what I feel today in this moment. A few years back, I was talking to my husband. I don't know if you guys know, but my husband, Tanzarius Swadesh Anderson, was wrongfully convicted and is doing a hard time in prison. And so as we talk in this hell, in this reality, you try to make heaven out of hell. You try to make the best of it. And so we're talking, and it's fun, and it's cute. And he asked me, what you say now? You gonna do foster care? Why would you do that? I said, well, I can actually pick the children that I foster. I can actually pick specifically boys, and I can actually pick Black boys. And he said, well, why would you choose the hardest job in America? To be a mother to a Black boy. I said, what's that? He said, to be a mother to a Black boy is the hardest job in America. I said, but then I have the second hardest job in America, because the hardest thing in America is to be a Black man. And so I started breaking down why I was going to do this job, this hard job. I said, so I can kiss their Black noses, so I can run my hands through their Black hair, so I can embrace their Black lips, so I can put them on my lap and teach them, so I can nurture them and cultivate their heart, so I can show them and embrace them and tell them how beautiful they are. So to all my Black boys, my own Black sons, I love you. Brianna, you're not off the hook. Brianna Malore. I'm waiting. You guys know the saying that a leader is a servant in disguise? Brianna Malore is a genius.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
She is brilliant. And if y'all don't know, she's the reason why I ran for office.
Wow, wow.
I love you and appreciate you. I love you, all my brothers, and we're gonna fight. And Frank, you know where we grew up, right? I grew up in Academy Homes with Frank. Frank, I love you. Rufus, Tito. I'm gonna stop talking or else I'm gonna start crying. I look forward to the work, and thank you so much. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Mayor Wu.
After Councilor Jackson stepped down from the council, there was no black man serving on the Boston City Council for years. I am honored to serve alongside someone who, again, not just big shoes to fill, but running with the torch, breaking down all the barriers, bringing community alongside. I want to invite District 4 City Councilor Brian Worrell up to the microphone.
First and foremost, I just want to take all this in right now and just take a look at all these black men behind me and just see how powerful this is right here. This is a powerful image. Yeah. Very powerful image. I want to applaud Mayor Wu and Mayor Janey for formalizing the tireless work of Frank Farrow, Tito Jackson, and Councilor Mejia, and so many others who paved the way through the activism for black Bostonians. Black men have played a significant and historic role in making Boston the city it is today. From Bostonian Ken, Boston's first black landowner in 1656, Crispus Attucks, who we all know was the first casualty of the American Revolution in 1770, the black men who made Boston one of the most central bases of the abolitionist movement in the early to mid-1800s, leaders of the industry, William Monroe Trotter and William Henry Lewis, civil rights leaders who lived in Boston during formative years of their lives, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and so many others in between, from Otto Snowden to Mel King to Bill Owens to Bruce and Royal Bowen to Harry Elm to Edward Gordon and Chuck Turner, and the list goes on. Through this office and through the leadership of its board and direction of Frank Farrow, we will focus on the advancement of black men and boys, addressing systemic inequities and creating greater opportunities so we can continue to add to that list. There was a report that said if Massachusetts could close the wealth gap in black communities, the state could grow its economy by $25 billion over 5 years. And that's the equivalent of adding up to 100,000 jobs. And that was according to an analysis by the Massachusetts Taxpayer Foundations. As the first black man to serve on the Boston City Council since my friend Tito Jackson, this right here, this commission is a special meaning to me. This is an important day for Boston. This is an important day for black men, and I'm so honored to stand here with them. Thank you.
Okay, we've been in church for some time now. Why don't we see if there's like one or two questions? I want to thank everyone. I'm blown away. Why don't y'all come to City Hall more often? And I also want to just say, before questions, while we are standing in this testament to the legacy of black men in Boston, it is also the future of our young people. We are expecting, while I have the media here, we are expecting freezing rain into sleet, potentially right during the morning commute, which could make for quite dangerous conditions. So no decisions have been made yet, but just a flag that the superintendent and I and our teams will continue to talk about it over the next couple hours and make a call about whether schools will be open or not tomorrow morning for weather.
Mayor, we're approaching, we're now in the 2-year mark of the pandemic. Can you talk about the threshold the city has to meet before people can start taking off their masks in restaurants and schools?
Are there questions on that, Commissioner? I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. Yeah, I'll come back to that. Yeah. Yes. It's okay. It's okay. We have enough time for it. We have enough time. Go ahead. Sorry, I can't hear you. So the question was, in addition to the 21 commissioners who will serve as set up by the ordinance as filed, will there be other staff members? So we are going to be continuing to support the amendment from Councilor Mejia that will rectify and just kind of adjust the language so that our executive director can be fully recognized as part of the office and the commission. So I'm grateful to her for moving that through. And we will be staffing up this office. We will be ensuring that there's funding for this office. The good news is that we're in a new paradigm for budget setting in the city of Boston. So we'll be working together with the council on that piece. And we will make sure that this office has the resources that it needs.
What's the timeline like to get this position staffed and to make these final budgets?
Yeah, so the application process is live as of today. It'll be up through the end of February 28th. So through the online application, we'll be selecting 7 nominations for the commission. We'll also be working with the city council. They will be making nominations to the commission, and they will also, we'll take 7 nominations from the city council, and then through the mayor, we're going to select another 7 to close out the 21 members of the commission. As far as the budget, we're in conversations now of what the budget's going to look like, what the office is going to need to make sure we're fully funded and fully resourced to make sure that we're doing the work necessary to advance the lives of black men and boys in Boston. Thank you.
Mayor, the goals of uplifting and promoting advancement are somewhat nebulous. Have you identified specific goals for this commission and for your new executive director? And then secondly, given that people have referenced that this past was slapped down in 2014 and you as the city executive have decided to move it forward, can you just say a little bit about what non-black people are supposed to think about this office?
So in the first part on goals, I'll invite if our director wants to chime in any more as well, because this really will be following the lead and listening to the black men whose vision this office is fulfilling. I will just reference another incredible Shiro, who has been critical to the work and pushing this vision along, of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and her constant reminder that the people closest to the pain must be closest to the power. And so we will make sure that this commission walks in lockstep with our community members. And I will defer to our director and our commissioners on what those goals are and how to best support and empower that. In terms of what was the second part of the question? What non-black residents should be thinking of this commission? Was that the question? This, I mean, you've heard it before. This is the heart of our city. This is the future and the success and the prosperity of Boston, connected to each and every one of us. And so I am proud to stand among many, many city leaders in that the future of black men and boys in Boston is the future of Boston. The future and investment in black men and boys is the future of Boston. Yes, I'll go back here.
Oh, you have a question? Sure. So a couple years ago, Mayor Walsh tried to implement a similar goal with My Brother's Keeper. And, what's the difference between that initiative and this new office?
Thank you so much. I have been nominated by the brothers to speak on this issue. The next time we get together on this issue, it is my hope that the difference would be that Mayor Wu will be announcing a budget for these issues in the city of Boston. Sadly, when we look at the history of My Brother's Keeper in the city of Boston, it was an unfunded mandate. There were great brothers, some of them here, who did great work. But doing this work shouldn't cost them out of their personal pocket. And so if we are going to make the structural changes that need to be made, they actually have to be part of the structure. In addition, this needs to be attached to economic development and the work that Shigun Idowu is doing in terms of contracts. We're not only talking about jobs, but we're actually talking about contracts. In addition, when we look at even the school department, every single school provides food for children on a day-to-day basis. That food comes up, I think it's Pennsylvania when I was there, in frozen. We have restaurants, which Mayor Wu has led on. We have businesses in and around our community that can actually feed our children, at the same time employ their parents, and hopefully someday we can actually grow our own food and actually uplift our community as a whole. So these are the types of structural changes that we actually have to have. In addition, what I'm told is that there's an additional $40 million that has been allocated to the Boston Public Schools. That directly affects the well-being, the uplift, and the outcomes of our black men and boys, as well as the young people in the school district. And then finally, and I know there was the question around issues of COVID, well, black folk die at 1.4x the rate of their white counterparts. So these issues, and when it comes to the issue of prostate cancer, we die at 250 times the rate. And every single brother in here, I want you to get a PSA. We die at 250 times the rate of our white male counterparts when it comes to that. All of those things need to be addressed not only on an individual level, but on a structural level, and we look forward to working with Mayor Wu in terms of dealing with these issues.
And to just on the COVID piece, to return to the question on metrics, we are working very closely to monitor the case counts, hospitalization rates due to COVID, and ICU capacity. Public health and public safety is always going to drive our decision-making first in the City of Boston and closing the disparities that we have seen deepen during the pandemic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thanks, everyone.
Let's get a photo.
We need a picture. And you need to post this picture on the front of your house.